Hi, and welcome to the 11th season of Georgina Blooms. I'm Kathy Bruce, your host, and we're going to have a great time. We're at Georgina Garden Centre. Shannon Lyndon Smith will join me. And yes, we're talking about seeds and these fabulous gloves and more stuff. Please stay tuned. Welcome back, and joining me is Shannon Lyndon Smith, manager of Georgina Garden Centre. Thank you.
Thank you.
It starts.
It's time.
11th season. 11th season, yeah.
That's crazy.
That's like 270 shows. Who knew one could talk about gardening that much? Okay, we have new stuff now. Gardening gloves. So before you even get started in the garden, gloves. And I love these only because last year when I talked about these for Mother's Day, I can still wear them now.
That's good.
I haven't busted through the top. Mm-hmm. They're super comfortable, and now you have the same brand with reinforced fingers, which is great.
Just a little bit different style than the ones you like there. These ones, this one here actually has a water-resistant leather palm, but has reinforced tips. So we'll go through, the back's breathable so your hand won't sweat. This one, if you don't want quite as thick of a glove, even though it's not really that thick, but if you don't want that thick of a glove, you can do that one, this one.
Yeah.
And then, that one feels like you're not wearing a glove.
This one?
Yeah.
I love this one.
And they're made out of
recycled bottles.
Recycled water bottles.
Yeah. And that's what's on them. And that's what drew me to them. So before you start anything, even planting seeds, you should wear gloves. And even if they're not these gloves, latex gloves to deal with seeds and so on, is always a good idea. But gloves, and these run out quickly.
Yes.
I was so happy. Yeah, that was the first thing I saw.
Pair or something right after, and they're already all gone. So yes, they go quickly.
Yes. So I need a couple pairs because sometimes when they get sopping wet, I think I'm going to get these as well with the for my nails. Anyway, gloves. Good ones pay off.
Yes.
So
it's worth the extra couple bucks.
Yeah. Yep. And this is about container gardening. This is not just Year of the Dog, it's Year of the Garden. And that's been determined, that's Canada-wide, Year of the Garden. So regardless of size, because you have a yard, but you also have two dogs.
Yes.
And you're here.
Yes.
You live here.
Yes.
Pretty much. So you don't have time.
I container garden.
Yes.
Everything is in.
I love... This is a water. Self-watering one. And so this just has the holes, you fill this up?
Well, you don't have to. You fill with soil, you plant. When you water, any excess water goes down below. Yeah. And stays away from your plants so you're not overwatering.
Right.
But what it will do also is if there's extra water in there, as the roots go down there, it kind of... self-waters itself, so you don't have to water as much.
Like a capillary?
Yes.
Okay.
But there is usually... That's the insert. There is... I thought it was attached still. There are holes.
Okay.
So, but you can see it's a deep hole. It's probably 3 inches.
Okay.
2-3 inches. So on the inside, once the water reaches that, it will spill over. Because these are outside, right? So if it kept raining, you'd have a soup bucket.
Okay.
So the water will only go up to there, and then it starts going out, draining out. Right. That way your plants won't.
Okay, so it manages your overwatering.
Exactly.
Okay.
But still a self-waterer because it keeps water in there. The roots are there. Right. We'll go through there. Right. And we'll draw up water as it needs to.
Okay. Cool. So you line yourself up with what you need. Yes. Because a lot of these things disappear real quickly.
Yes, and these do go quickly. We ran out last year. We got extra in this year, but I'm sure they're going to go quickly again. Yeah. And they do last for quite a few seasons. Like, they're heavy duty.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And food safe.
Oh,
Yes.
good one. Yeah. So, if you're going to go, and it's not just this container, you can use
I have
any
these too.
large container with the gloves.
Yeah, with our gloves. I love these two, but I love this one. I did a lot of herbs in these ones last year.
Okay.
And they're nice and light, even with the potting soil in there.
Okay.
You put your herbs if you have to move around.
Yeah.
But it's just a really nice size pot.
Yeah.
Not a self-water though, but that's okay. But really nice size pot. Good for flowers too, but I really liked it for my herbs and veggies. And it comes in a few different size pots. We have that one, and we have like one that's probably that big.
Yeah, and you have square ones as well.
Yes.
So there are tons of pots here.
Yes.
So as you're lining yourself up with, oh, you do have a ton of pots. I'm just looking at the display.
There's a lot.
Yeah. When you line yourself up from start to finish. So pots, full sun,
Yes.
typically.
For 90% of your veggies. Ones
Yeah.
that are more just leafy,
Yeah.
you can do a morning sun, late day. It still needs sun.
Yeah.
Doesn't need all day sun. So like lettuces,
Right.
kales, things like that.
Yeah.
Could be in a more shadier.
Yeah.
I hate to use the word shade because it's not shade, but
No,
less
dappled.
sun.
Yeah.
Yes, less sun area.
Oh, okay. All right. So gloves, pots, and now what I find really, really interesting, I listened to a guest speaker, the Garden Club, had a guest speaker who talked about container gardening. And she mentioned all the vegetables that you can grow.
You can grow a lot of vegetables in pots.
Yes, but they have very specific vegetables for container gardening.
Yeah, they tend to grow a bit smaller. They won't take over like some things do, or just not get as large. They'll stay more bushier, compact.
Yep. Yep.
I think sometimes they'll have a smaller fruit or vegetable on it as well. Won't be so gigantic as if it was in the garden.
Like it says, container,
Yes.
it'll say right on it, container eggplant,
Yep.
container bush beans, and we'll be right back. Please stay tuned. We have lots. Yeah. Welcome back. And I just want to, Shannon has, they say container on them.
Yes.
And you have grown a number of these
Yes.
last year.
With good success.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And
So-
that's what this guest speaker talked about. There are very specifics for containers.
Yes. You can grow almost anything in a container. It just needs to be big enough depending on the size of the plant.
Yeah.
But there's a lot specifically for container growing, whether in your backyard,
Yeah.
balcony, apartment, windowsill, whatever.
So watermelon.
Yes, so this one's an icebox. I like this one. This one is icebox watermelon, and they are little tiny mini watermelons, like personal size. And they really did come up pink. I had a peachy one, a yellowy
Cool.
one, and they were so good.
Ah.
They're probably that big.
Yep.
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 They're really good.
And so you've got a number of typically big plant.
I did cucumber bush slicer as well. It was
Okay.
good.
Cool.
I also did the baby cucumbers. You know the ones you see in the grocery store? They're about
Yeah.
that. I did those ones too. They were really
Oh,
good.
okay.
This is a climbing. Well, really any squash is climbing because they're all vines.
Yeah.
But this is a climbing butternut. Yes, butternut squash. This is a
So
buttercup.
typically butternut
Mini as well.
squash is massive. Like the leaves are huge.
No,
This
these
is
weren't.
so
The
cute.
leaves were smaller. The little squashes were probably that big. Delicious.
Yep.
Yeah, really
All-
easy and delicious.
Yeah. Eggplant.
Yep, I have container bush beans.
Okay.
I have eggplant, Little Prince eggplant, little mini ones.
So, yeah. And it'll say container
Yes.
on it.
Or baby.
Or snacking.
Yes, or snacking. Bush, anything bush.
Okay. Yeah, baby leeks. The baby leaf lettuce cutting mix. And lettuce typically you can grow anyway.
Yes.
But, and you want to cut container lettuce, garden babies, but like that butterhead lettuce, that's got everything.
And it's nice too because a lot of these are mini. So if you've vegetable gardened before, sometimes the stuff's so big, or if there's only a couple of you can't eat it all at once.
Yeah.
So all these little smaller things is a little bit, it's nicer for that.
Yeah.
Or if you're just trying something out, like say you've never grown something before and you don't want a giant harvest of it, or just whatever all at once, they're nice because they're just little.
So even
if
you do have a veggie garden,
you'd still put it in there for sure.
Absolutely,
Yes.
and have it on your deck.
Yes.
Now, the other thing I found really interesting that Renee's carries they've got little ladybird cosmos. Like even it says great in containers.
Mm-hmm.
Cutting sunflowers, great in containers. Like hummingbird salvia nymph. Coral nymph. So these are all suggested for little firebirds for nasturtiums.
And nasturtiums are edible too.
And
little peppery taste.
Peppery, yeah. And
sorry, go ahead.
I think we need to do a show about edible flowers.
Yes. These are all nice too because it's nice, especially if you're growing in containers, you have a small area, it tends to get just very green.
Yeah.
So if you plant some flowers in and amongst it, you get that color, and it attracts your pollinators, which will help your vegetable garden as well.
Right.
So all work together, but looks nice.
Dwarf zinnias. So there's no, you can have what you would typically have in a regular big garden.
On a smaller scale in pots.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you're not, if cutting up a new plot or whatever is not in your wheelhouse at the time, containers are,
Yeah, you have dogs, you have kids.
Yeah.
You just don't have
the time.
Space. Sometimes just because you can have a few pots kind of everywhere. It's not one big garden.
Yeah.
Say you have more trees in your yard, or your neighbor has trees, so there's tree roots, and you can't dig through them. You put pots there, so you don't have to disrupt everything just to have a garden.
No.
And the best part of all of it, less weeds.
Oh.
You get like virtually no weeds.
You talked about this
garden.
last year.
It is fantastic.
All right. Yeah, those of us who are hands and knees weeding. The other thing, everything you need to know about growing these seeds is on the package. So pay attention to what it's like, read it and get it.
Yeah, they'll tell you when to plant it, either inside or outside.
There's a whole calendar.
Where to put it, sun or shade. Planting depth, the spacing, how many days to germination, days to harvest.
Yeah. And so you can, if you're starting these indoors, and we're going to touch upon that, if you're starting these indoors, typically our last frost-free date is between May 10th and May 20th for here. And you count backwards when it says takes 6 weeks or whatever.
Right.
So that would bring you to
now.
First week of April.
Yeah.
And you've still got more than enough time. Most seeds are 6 to 8 weeks, give or take. But so there's lots of time for doing seed. The only thing is, seeds run out.
Yes, especially particular varieties or popular ones. Sometimes you have a lot of something, but since everyone's into gardening right now too, which is a wonderful thing, they do go quickly. Yes.
Yep. So for starting seeds, there are these lovely things. So I have the easy one. This is the pucks. And I've demonstrated these on air. Once you add water, they puff up. They've got a little hole here. You separate out the mesh and put your seed in there. To whatever the directions say.
And then that you just put right into the ground because the roots just go through that. You don't
Yes.
need a container or anything like that.
No.
It has a dome, so you put it over top to keep the humidity in until they sprout.
Right. Right.
These ones here are cocoa plantable pots made out of cocoa fiber. We have smaller ones as well. Put soil in, put your seeds in, roots will go through. So again, you can just plant that right in the garden. You don't have to try and pop it out.
Yeah, and when I use these, I usually cut slits and then it just disintegrates even
Faster,
more.
yeah.
But before you put soil in there, soak those, because if you put soil in and water the soil and these are dry, this is going to wick the water out of the soil. So soak this, fill it with soil, water the soil, and plant your seed.
Right.
The other thing.
Sorry,
oh,
quickly,
right.
2 more. Sorry.
Oh, right.
This is good for windowsill size. So if you just want to stick it in your window, if you don't
Yeah.
have a big area, they're plastic cell packs. Put your soil in, put your seed, put your dome on top. Or if you have a bigger area, if you have
Yeah.
a table or something, you can use these ones, or if you're doing more seeds.
Yeah.
But either way.
And this has a spot on the bottom for water to sit in. And if you're looking to water less, you can put a layer of felt, moisten it really well,
wicks it, right?
and it will create a capillary action so that the water will be continuously on a moist surface. And that's great if you're going to be away for a few days.
Yeah. Just make
So-
sure it's not sitting in water.
No,
Just
no, and that's where the
moistened.
felt comes
Right.
in. Yeah.
Yep.
So you've got your things to put the soil in. Now the soil. So if you want to mix your own soil for starting seeds, it is perlite, vermiculite, and sphagnum. And you can make your own mixture using 1 part of each, or 2 parts perlite, 2 parts vermiculite, and 1 part sphagnum. And perlite is popped volcanic ash, and it's very light. Vermiculite is like popped mica, and sphagnum peat moss is fabulous stuff. These two, vermiculite and sphagnum, absorb water and nutrients well. If you stay tuned, we have more. Welcome back. And we told you how to use perlite, vermiculite, and sphagnum, 1 part each, or 2 parts vermiculite and perlite and 1 part sphagnum. And you mix that up, and that becomes your soil for seedlings. Or,
If you don't do that,
yeah,
it's pre-mixed.
yeah, you can buy a bag of, which is the route I typically go.
And make sure it says seed starting.
Always,
Yes.
always.
If
Yeah.
you're doing, in the little containers, you're potting
Seedling
soil
Yeah.
in pots. But yeah, seedling mix for all your.
Yeah, and there's garden soil, container soil, and seedling soil.
Right.
So you make sure you read the bag.
And on top of your, when you have it all done and seeded, you can always do a thin layer of vermiculite on top too. That just helps keep
Moisture
in, all that kind of
Cool.
fun stuff. So
Yeah.
next layer of that too is helpful.
And just ask Shannon
Or any of us here.
or send me a note.
Yes.
My email address will be on the screen anyway. So if you do have questions, please do. And then if I don't know the answer, I don't make it up. I seek out real people who can give you a real answer.
Yes.
But on a totally different note, you are carrying something very different
Yes.
here.
They're really neat.
Mushrooms.
Mushroom kits, yes. So we have
Mushroom kits. Right.
oyster, shiitake, and lion's mane. And I've now done all 3 of them. Shiitake was the fastest, then lion's mane and oyster. If you follow us on social media, you've seen them. The lion's mane was probably the size of my hand. Really neat, because I've never really seen one before. but
Okay.
very neat looking. Shiitake, everyone I think knows what a shiitake looks like, but this is what it looks like when we have them here. So in the kit, you get the mushroom block, you get the bag, and you get a little spritz bottle. So what you have to do, it's so easy, and it's really good. It's really easy for kids. Well, it's good for anyone, but really simple for kids.
Smell.
It gets people started in gardening, and it's nice to grow something at this time of year in the house.
So you would do this obviously inside.
Yes,
Yeah.
you do these inside. So in the kit is the misting. You just mist the inside of the tent, and then I shouldn't have unfolded it, but then you put it back over top because you have to keep it humid in there for them to grow.
Yeah.
And then I just keep a tiny bit of water on the paper towel in the bottom, and then this one the
you
oyster
can
is slit
see
through the front.
Paper towel.
Yeah. The oyster is slit at the front, and so the oyster mushrooms will grow through that slit. I think that's some growing there. And then each one's a little different. They have instructions on all this one. You had to grow X's, but you can see where I've harvested. Here, I'll take that off so you can see. You can see where I harvested the mushrooms from, there and there. And I've cut another X there, and I've cut some on the sides. So
you
more
already
will
cut
grow.
mushrooms off.
Yes, and you'll get 2 to 4 flushes off each. And then when you're done, like when it's all done, after your 2 to 4 flushes, you take it out of the pack, and you can just compost or throw out the block.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So the only time I think I've ever dealt with mushrooms was Clearwater Farms.
Mm-hmm.
We're injecting
Yes, you
logs.
can. Yes, you can
Yeah.
inoculate logs.
Inoculate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So cool. So how long does it take to get a mushroom?
It depends on where you have them too. You're not supposed to keep them in bright light, but a high humidity area. So kitchen, but not in the window, just kind of off to the side is usually best.
Okay.
Depends on everyone's house though. The shiitake we had probably within a week.
Okay.
The lion's mane probably took up to a couple of weeks, and the oyster I've just done, and I think it says about 10 to 15 days, somewhere in there, you'll start seeing.
Stuff.
Yes.
Wow.
It's just really neat watching them grow. It really is.
It's very
very excited.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially if you like mushrooms, you don't
Yes.
really, you see the signs for a mushroom farm.
Mm-hmm.
People use mushroom compost. So this is very, very different, and it's very, very cool.
Yes. Different type of container gardening.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Self-contained.
Yes.
I really like this idea.
Yeah.
And I know our grandkids like mushrooms. So this might be a real interesting little school project to
Yeah.
do, and it doesn't take long.
Yeah, and you can do it I've had some teachers come in or daycare people come in, and they will grow them in the classroom or in the daycare just so the kids can see them grow as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And seeds.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Shannon. And thank you, Georgina Garden Centre, for letting us hang here again. Another season. Anyway, if you have questions or ideas for the show, stuff you'd like to know about, you can send me an email, kmbruce@rogers.com, or call me, 905-476-6979. I will answer. Anyway, thanks again. Enjoy the day. Bye.